And we're live. Hello! So, as you probably noticed from the title, I'm going to be attempting to read. Since it's my own writing, it'll probably be a lot more easier than with any other literature out there. And yeah, this is a story that I wrote ages ago, and for like the longest time, I didn't have a name for it. So at some point, I kind of just decided on calling it "The Living with Phantoms," because there's phantoms in there in the story. And originally, fun fact, this was meant to be like when I was first making backstory for what I wanted to be when I became the pngtuber. I couldn't decide on something, and like when it took me like a long time, and then I wrote this story, but I liked it too much to make it like the backstory of me at my PNG, plus like the design didn't work out too much, so now it's a completely on its own thing that I wrote. And so far I only have like one whole chapter ready with like that I put into parts for some reason, because I don't know, that's how I write stories. And that like I was like, hey, I feel like streaming and sharing my stories, because obviously I want to share my creativity with you all. But I will admit, I did wrote this like a while back, and I don't think I've ever like reread it to catch any mistakes. So if I do catch any mistakes, that's completely on me, and I will fix them. But if I don't catch any mistakes, then wow, how lucky am I today? Okay, let's just start reading. So the prologue. Give me a moment as I put on some music so it's not just sad me. There we go. And let me see. Before I start. There we go. All right. So prologue. Cough, cough. Okay. We live with monsters that can look like us. I'm sure many of you are assuming I'm talking about people who either manipulate, steal, or murder. No, I'm talking about actual monsters who disguise themselves to appear human. We call them phantoms. Their actual appearances are similar to a misty shadow that is hidden inside a cloak. They're practically invisible to the normal eye, but there are those who have special sight, people who can actually see them. We are the ones who hunt them down. Why are phantoms so bad? You see, their sole reason for existing is to torment humanity. If a person has a weak will, they are the perfect target. They steal their body and live their lives. But here's the strange thing. Every time they take a person's body, they turn their life around and make that person loved and admired. You would think that's a good thing, but they're just a wolf in sheep's clothing, never returning the body to its rightful owner and luring unsuspected prey into a trap. Spooky. I'm kidding. Okay. You see, being in the presence of a phantom for too long can lead to harsh consequences. Your mood will begin to deteriorate, words, and you'll start to lash out at the people around you until you're left with no one but the phantom-possessed human. Gosh. As your life starts to crash and burn, the phantom just watches with glee, satisfied with seeing all their admirers suffer as they feast on the energy that comes from all the negativity. This is why they go through the trouble of turning a nobody into a somebody when possessing a human. They want to eat as much as they can from those around them. However, many phantoms choose a different route. There are phantoms who enjoy the taste of negative emotions and those who enjoy positive emotions. I despise those ones the most. Rather than luring in a group to gorge themselves in negativity, many target a single person for a single satisfying meal. They usually target those who are the happiest in life. They might not be able to possess their body, but they can practically latch themselves onto the person and take until all that's left is negative emotions. Then they talk all of it, and then they take all of that too. Once it's all gone, the person is basically left as an empty husk that will eventually die as the phantom moves on to their next target. They treat those once happy people like trash. How cruel. They're all such cruel creatures. I lost a good friend because of them. I'll continue to lose those who are close to me if they're not stopped. So I vow to hunt them down until they're all dead. Sounds like Eren Yeager with his titans. Okay. Okay, well, that was my mindset until this happened. Until what happened? Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, now it's switching perspective, so it's no longer in her point of view. I don't know why I did that. I just did, so yeah. A woman breathed heavily as she slashed at the phantom who dodged her attack and continued to fly away. I feel like that could have been worded better. A woman breathed heavily as she slashed at the phantom who dodged her attacks, while it continued to fly away. It turned the corner and she followed. That could work. She groaned, or I could do it better. Ugh. Ha! No, I'm kidding. Okay, I can't. Voice acting I still gotta practice with. She groans out of frustration. The chase continued until the phantom nearly slammed into a wall. They seemed frightened and turned back, wanting to run another way until they saw the woman blocking their way. Die! She screams, getting ready to attack. Wait! The phantom yelled, raising their hands to block any potential attacks. Ha! The woman gasped, shocked as she nearly lost her balance after hearing their voice. Phantoms can only speak when they're in control of a body. How are they? She thought, gripping onto her weapon tightly. Also, here's another thing about this character. I keep everything about this character so vague because I don't know what she looks like or what weapon she uses. Whenever I think of things, sometimes I think of a knife, sometimes I think of a scythe. It's very inconsistent because I can't agree on what I want the character to look like. And for the longest time, I couldn't even think of her name. For the longest time, her name was temporary because I couldn't think of a name. That's how sad it is. Give me a moment. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Okay, so, and I lost my spot again. She thought, gripping onto her weapon tight. I don't know what you want, but please don't hurt me, they said, looking at the wall and back at her. I have to kill you. You're a phantom, she said, glaring. Also, my writing style is dialogue focus, so don't expect me to have the best descriptions of anything. I'm usually just, they say this, they say that, this, that, they're all speaking. I gotta get better with different forms of writing because I always do dialogue writing and I just I gotta improve. I have to improve one day. Okay, I have to kill you. You're a phantom, she said, glaring. I don't even know what that is. I just woke up a while ago and I'm extremely confused. There's 2 spaces there. They said, slouching down their shoulders. Okay, why should I believe you? She asked, still on guard. I don't know. But I'm being honest, I don't really remember much of anything before this day. I'm just confused. Please, help me understand what's going on, they continued. Their desperation was so genuine that the woman's aggressive expression softened. She paused before lowering her weapon. What? I swear, my sad errors. Okay. Answer me this. Do you want to hurt humanity? She asked. No, why would I want to do that? They asked, appearing very much like a lost puppy. Interesting. Follow me. This situation is unusual. I've never heard of a case of a phantom like you. Maybe the master might know what's going on, she said, putting her weapon away while walking off. The phantom followed close behind her. I'm usually not this merciful, but I have a strange feeling to let you live. So, unless my master says otherwise, you live a little longer. Okay. Do you have any snacks? The phantom asked curiously. I forgot I had that. So, I don't know how long ago I wrote this. I'm assuming it was a few years maybe a little less, I don't know. But yeah, that was the whole prologue where it's just explaining the lore of what phantoms are and then meeting a phantom who is not exactly what is a normal phantom should be. So if it wasn't obvious, because I was writing the story with the intentions of making it my backstory, but my backstory is now of a witch who's trying to, I'm not even a witch, of a necromancer. In the original story, I was just a hunter chasing down evil spirits, and as you could see with Creep, that's the main inspiration. But I changed the story completely because I liked this one a lot, and I was I don't want to make it my backstory. I just want to make it into a book that I can write. But here's the thing, I only wrote 1 mission and I didn't continue the rest. I might continue the rest, but not right now. Okay, but now we're moving on to more. Part 1. The woman, oh yeah, she's also very aggressive. I don't know why I wrote her so aggressive. She's meant to be me. I don't think I mean, I do play games that do require me to be I do play games that I do act a little weird, but that's on me. Anyways, ignoring that. The woman kicked the door open and startled the old man inside. He nearly dropped the chemicals he was working with, and his eyes widened incredibly large until the goggles he was He nearly dropped the chemicals he was working with, and his eyes widened incredibly large under the goggles he was wearing. That's what it was meant to be. Okay. Darn it, Yuna. Yeah, that was the name I gave her. I couldn't think of anything, and I was tired of seeing the name temporary, so I changed it to Yuna now. Okay. Damn it, Yuna, the old man yelled while throwing the goggles off his face. His silver hair was short, and for an old man, he looked surprisingly fit. His pale green eyes appeared irritated, yet equally as tired, and he was wearing a lab coat held together by stitches. Sorry, Master Levin. Name. I think the original name was meant to be Raven, but I was like, nah. I'm gonna think of like That's So Raven, or I'm gonna think of freaking Teen Titans Raven, and this is a man, so I'm like, let's make it a little different. So I put Levin, of all things. I don't know if it's a name. If it's a name, it's a name. Okay. Sorry, Master Levin, but we have a situation, Yuna said, kneeling against the door frame and gesturing her head towards the phantom next to her. Hello, sir, the phantom said shyly. Levin blinked his eyes a few... I think I could just put... Levin blinked a few times before he jumped with a large smile and nearly tripped on a table. There we go. He jumped with a large smile and nearly tripped on a table while stepping forward. It speaks! Levin yelled. Yuna, that's... I always think Luna. Okay. Well, Yuna was surprised by the sudden boost of energy while the phantom jumped back, hitting the wall frightened. It's been so long since I've encountered... It's been so long since I've encountered something like this, he continued while moving closer. Actually, I need another sip of water. I don't think anyone wants to hear me sipping water, so I'm gonna mute when I do that. Okay. Why is that there? Okay. It's been so long since I've encountered something like this, he continued while moving even closer. So this happened before? Yuna asked, pointing at the phantom with her thumb and raising an eyebrow. Yes, it's rare, but when it happens, it's a big benefit to us phantom hunters, Levin said, examining the phantom closely. Yuna looked at the phantom with a glare full of hatred. How can a life-ruining monster benefit us? She asked. The phantom avoided her gaze and was noticeably anxious due to them knowing damn well she wants them dead. This one isn't anything like the phantoms you've encountered, although without proper care it could turn into one, Levin said. She pulled out her weapon. So we should kill it now before it does, Yuna. So we should kill it now? Yuna asked. The phantom ran behind Levin, who just chuckled. Of course not. They will only turn into an actual phantom once they consume an abundance of negative emotions. Usually the regular phantoms force feed them that. So we were lucky to find this one before that happened. Another way they could turn is by consuming life energy from a cruel person. Have you been around any cruel people, Phantom? Levin asked. I've been around her, the Phantom said, looking at Yuna. She raised her weapon, startling the Phantom once again. Oh, she seems mean, but she's honestly a sweetheart, and compared to actual cruel people in this world, she's actually a good girl, Levin said, walking back into the room and picking up a book. Tell me, Phantom, do you have a name? Levin asked while opening the book. I don't remember, the Phantom said. That's all right. And are you hungry by chance? Levin asked, flipping through the pages. The book he was holding? I don't know if I'm gonna add that anyways because I feel like it would be weird if I didn't. I don't know. Yeah, he was holding. I don't know if I ever reread it and it sounds awful, I'll fix it again. Anyways, yes, extremely, the Phantom groaned. That's so. In order to maintain your strength, phantoms to regain your phantoms regardless, that's what it meant to say. Phantoms, regardless of good or bad, new or old, they still need to feed. They still need To feed. There we go, he said, putting the book down. In order to keep you alive, we need to find you someone to feed off of, he said. Yuna flinched and stepped in between the two. No, I'd rather let this thing die. Yeah, I'd rather let this thing die than let them suck the energy from innocent people. Why did I say it like that? From innocent people, she interrupted. Yuna, relax. Unlike the regular phantoms, this one shouldn't do any harm. As long as we take proper care of them, we don't have to worry about their presence bringing bad fortune. We don't have to worry about the presence, bringing bad fortune, or them sucking out all our energy. Sucking out all our energy, yes. Levin said, moving closer to the phantom while patting its back. Listen, phantom. Listen. Reading. Listen, Phantoms need to eat emotions, and that includes this one. But you want to know something interesting. If phantoms want to, they can help specific people with sadness or anger in their hearts by eating it. But only small amounts, because taking too much of a single emotion can be bad for a human. I should know. I've seen it, he said, shaking his head while crossing his arms. Too bad phantoms don't use their power for good. They're just greedy creatures and consume it all alongside life energy, Levin said, thinking out loud at this point. I'm gonna take another sip of water. That's some good water. Then more of a reason to kill you, Yuna said, raising her weapon at the phantom, because it sounds like she's talking to Levin now. Raising her weapon to the phantom. Phantom. Woo, Phantom of the Opera is there inside your... I can't remember. Then more of a reason to kill you. I don't like it. Okay. Then more of a reason to kill it, Yuna said, raising her weapon to the phantom. He flicked... Oh, Levin. Yeah. Levin flicked her forehead with his finger. With his finger. Typing. Okay. There. I don't know why, like, I'm so used to typing with, like, a very small keyboard because I used to have, like, a tiny laptop, so having, like, a bigger one is always a new thing for me. Okay. Hold up. Okay. I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Look, this one will be... Oh my gosh, okay. Sorry. I'm not finished. Look, this one will be different because they won't be greedy. They'll take what they need, and they won't even bother touching the person's life energy because of the humans... Hold on, wait. They'll take what they need, and they won't even bother touching the person's life energy... Yeah, because the human's emotions are enough to satisfy their hunger, Levin explained. Grr, I don't know, that makes me laugh. I'm sorry, but how do you expect me to believe this? All I've seen these things do is ruin lives, Yuna said, stomping her feet like a child. If you're so worried, then why don't you take one of... If you're so worried, then why don't you take one for the team? I will not lie and say these things don't come with risks, and I won't lie and say these things don't come with risks, and you seem like... I won't lie and say these things don't seem like a risk, and you seem like a perfect candidate for a phantom like them to feed off of, Levin suggested. Yuna stepped back, surprised by this response. Actually, that sounds like a good idea. Why don't you let the poor thing... Why does it want to put an S? Why don't you let the poor thing eat your emotions? Better yet, let it latch onto you so it can only feed off of you. It might do you some good too, because they'll eat away the bad emotions you always carry. It's not going to permanently take away your sadness or anger, but it should help you be less aggressive. Yuna, when was the last time you genuinely smiled? Levin asked, interrupting her. She avoided his gaze while clenching her teeth. Thought so. Yuna, I know you're strong and you don't let your emotions affect you too often, but I know that you're struggling deep down. I just want you to be happy, and I'm sure this could help you. They're not going to erase all the bad emotions, but they can help ease you. Yeah. I know they can handle you and you can handle them. At least consider it, he said with a genuine smile. Yuna was taken aback from this. She looked at the phantom and struggled to pick an expression on her face. Okay. Honestly, I do the same thing all the time when I'm confused. Why do you want this thing to live? She asked. Because it makes hunting phantoms easier. As you know, hunters like you and I can see phantoms unlike a normal person. But if a phantom is inside a human body, it's difficult for us to discover it's there until it's too late, and many die by their hands. So having an actual phantom on our side would help us find them quicker. They can actually sense. Oh, hi, thank you, Belle. I didn't realize those work. Okay. I got jump scared. Okay. They can actually sense each other, so when you go on a mission, they can tell you who's possessed by a phantom, Levin said. Yuna hesitated. So, this thing can help me find more phantoms? She asked. Levin nodded, and Yuna closed her eyes, irritated. Irritated. She even pinched. There we go. She even pinched the bridge of her nose. Fine. If it helps me destroy those things, I'll let them feed off of me. But if they turn evil, I won't hesitate to cut them down. It won't turn evil as long as you stay sane and you don't let negative emotions overwhelm you, Levin said, patting her head. By the way, Levin is like her father figure in this whole series, which, I was like, oh, that's so adorable. Okay. Alright, based on the notes, in order for the phantom to latch onto you, they need to sink their hand into your chest and move around until they feel something. Once they do, they need to grab it, and their being will connect to your soul, and your negative emotions should automatically flow into them. Sorry, that period looked weird there. Okay. I need to touch her chest? The phantom said, looking at her nervously. Bro, I would be nervous too if I had to freaking... Okay, she was glaring while crossing her arms. She seemed like she was trying to hide her embarrassment under anger. Why are you so worried? You can go through things, Levin said. I can? The phantom said, surprised. Yes, phantoms have a lot of abilities. I would say I'm surprised you didn't know this, but since you don't even know what you were in the beginning, since you didn't even know what you were in the beginning, I should have expected this, Levin said, taking the phantom's wrist to move their hand closer to Yuna. I'm not a phantom, so I don't fully understand, but I'll use the documents as reference from previous phantoms we've worked alongside. Based on what I've read, it shouldn't be too difficult. It should be as easy as flying for you. Just focus a bit, he continued. The phantom hesitated, but soon moved his hand towards her. They turned their head away and pushed their hand which vanished into her body. That's Yuna. It's like that was like her temporary name. It was like temporary reap, and I was like temporary, but because I couldn't think of a name. Okay, Yuna shivered. It felt almost like ice. It felt almost like cold water was inside her chest. The phantom started moving their hand around until they eventually found what they were looking for. Lights started to shine around the two, and the phantom disappeared. Where did it go? Yuna yelled, looking around. There in your body, Levin said. Ew, Yuna said. Soon something black started to wiggle out from... Man, it's been a long time since I read this that I'm laughing at the own things I wrote, I swear. Soon something black started to wiggle out from her back until the phantom fully reappeared. Oh my gosh. Finally, the pain went away, the phantom said happily. It worked. Excellent. Excellent. Now your hunger is... Mood, I have so many characters that just stick with their temp names. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes it's hard to pick a name when it comes to characters you make. Okay, now your hunger is... Wait, what? I put two nows. Now your hunger is satisfied and you have a partner to assist you with missions or on missions. Yeah. Now your hunger is satisfied and you have a partner to assist you on missions. Levin, why does there an S? Levin said, pointing at the two. And since you two are now stuck with each other, try getting along. Be friends or something, Eleven said, walking away. Yuna glared at the phantom, who was still nervous around her, but couldn't run away now. What? That line is so okay. Yuna glared at the phantom, who was still nervous. Who still seemed. Yuna glared at the phantom, who still seemed nervous. Who still? I want to write this so it doesn't seem weird. Seemed nervous around her, but couldn't run away now because of their newly formed connection. Woo! And that was the first introduction of like some important characters. Levin and like Yuna's name is finally introduced because for some reason the prologue I didn't give her the name because I kept hesitating to figure out a name. And the Phantom, which the name will be revealed soon. Anyways, part 2. After Yuna placed now in her room. Of course, I mean it's gonna say that later. Why am I okay? After Yuna placed her weapon down alongside her desk, she sat on her bed and removed her cloak. The Phantom stood, technically floating, off to the side of the room. She glared at them, which caused the Phantom to flinch out of fear. I don't feel comfortable calling you Phantom. It just makes me mad. I want an actual name to call you, Yuna said. I don't remember my name, though, the Phantom said apologetically. Make one up, she yelled. The Phantom jumped. Okay, Tom? They blurted out. Tom? She questioned. Her irritated expression changed to a baffled one. I don't know. Phantom? Tom? Better than nothing, they said. She blinked a few times before speaking. That's so stupid, but it will work, she said, laying her back flat on her bed. I can't believe this. Working with the thing I'm supposed to kill. She moved her arm to hide her eyes as Tom lowered their gaze, feeling down. I feel like I said, moving her arm to hide her eyes as Tom looked down. I'm gonna say that. As Tom looked down sad. Looked down sad. Honestly, I love Tom too. Okay, they were almost the size of a right here, I missed the thing. They looked down sad. Suddenly, they shrank down. They were almost the size of a small animal. They were confused, but by now they know they'll be They were confused, but by now they know they'll be discovering more of their abilities as time goes by. They use this opportunity and less frightening appearance to get closer to Yuna. You could have killed me before, but you didn't. Why? Tom asked, tilting their head to the side. When you started talking, I couldn't bring myself to attack. For a moment, I thought you were a human. Phantoms don't speak, and phantoms always have a playful personality. But you talked and you were scared. That threw me off, she said. She turned her head to look at small Tom. She wanted to look at their face, but it was hidden in the shadows due to the hood they were wearing. Cloak, hood, same difference. I for once felt bad for a phantom, but I guess you're not exactly a phantom. Master says you're different. If anything, I would say you're a subcategory of those things, she said, raising her hand to poke at Tom's cheek. I guess you have a point. What should this subcategory be called? Phantoms but nice? Phantoms but cooler? At this point, I might even be considered a pet since you're sheltering me and feeding me like one, Tom continued, slightly chuckling. Yuna giggled as she gently patted their head. After realizing her action, she flinched and sat up quickly as her cheeks turned red. What am I doing? She asked, looking at her hands with wide eyes. It feels like you were giving me affection, Tom said, smiling. No, you did this. You're How much of my bad emotions did you eat? I normally wouldn't be this soft and sweet, she said. You had a lot of anger in you. I would say I only took a quarter. You had a lot of anger in you. I would say I only took a quarter, maybe. There we go. Because, it was a little bit of a hesitant. Maybe, Tom said. Quarter? No, you must have taken more, she complained. I'm not lying, Tom said nervously. Oh, no, yeah, no, that still works, Tom said, nervous. My dog barked. She gritted her teeth. You know what? I was only like that because of our conversation, the fact that you're actually as small as most cute pets. That has to be it, she complained. So, I am seen as a pet, Tom said, surprised. I may be small right now, but do I look like a cat to you? Tom asked. Soon their appearance morphed into a cat-like appearance, which was still wearing a but was still wearing a cloak. But was still wearing a cloak. Huh? So I can change my size and I can shapeshift, Tom said, looking at their paws. So cute. Okay, that's honestly kind of cute, she said, smiling. Ah, no, focus, she said, slapping her cheeks. You know what? I'm going to bed. Get off, she said, picking up Tom and putting them on the desk beside her bed. There, beside her bed. She turned off the lamp and hid under the covers. Tom looked at her before vanishing and retreating back into her body. Good night. They last spoke before fully vanishing. Yuna placed her hands on her cheeks, hoping her cold palms could cool the embarrassment she feels, and to make her red cheeks change, but it's... wait, what? Oh, and to make her red cheeks change back to its original color. Back to their original color. Sleep was the word she repeated in her mind, hoping to run away in her dreams. She got embarrassed. How cute. Yeah. Oh. You know, my parents are outside, so they're obviously going to be loud. Anyways, so it's now the next day, and both Yuna and Tom were wandering in the city. Men walking with canes, and also, I don't know why, but I made, like, the setting for this, like, story, like, old-timey. Okay, not, like, incredibly old-timey, but, like, I wanted it like that because I didn't want to do modern for some reason. Words. Anyways, back to the story. Men walking with canes and wearing clean suits calmly passed the two, and soon gossiping women holding parasols and wearing beautiful dresses passed them next. Many people seem to be out today, but of course they are. The sun is bright with very few clouds to cover the sky, and birds are happily singing on the trees. Another reason for all these people, my voice cracked. Another reason for all these people to be out is because the city is full of shops, cafes, and buildings for business. Being in a hotspot like this, it shouldn't be surprising to encounter all these people. And this is what the two wanted. They stopped at the center of the city and stood at by the fountain, yes, gazing at each other, gazing at each passing faces. There we go. Wait, nope. Yeah, okay, no, yeah, that works still. Each passing face. Anything? Yuna asked. I don't see anything, Tom said. What a letdown, she said, kicking a pebble. She was hoping they would have spotted a phantom possessing a human, but their efforts were fruitless. She pulled out the letter her master gave her and began to read. What do you have there? Tom asked, looking over her shoulder. I'm just rereading these instructions the master gave me. Since we have downtime, this is probably the best opportunity to talk to you about this. Honestly, I should have told you this earlier, she said. Are you sure? Wouldn't people think you're crazy if they see you talking to yourself? I thought most people don't see me, right? Tom asked, looking at the passing people. I don't care. These people don't mean anything to me. If it was a friend or a family member, maybe. Maybe I would be... No, yeah, that still works. If it was a friend or family member, maybe I would be embarrassed, but these all are just strangers I'll probably never see again, she said. She soon pointed at her sleeves, which had a patch. Besides, I have the symbol of a phantom hunter. No one will want to mess with me, she continued. Oh, okay, Tom said. Anyways, listen. This is very important. When we encounter a human possessed by a phantom, in order for me to kill the phantom, I need you to drag them out of the person they're possessing, she said. Me? Tom said, pointing at themselves. Yes. You know how you reached into my body to connect your being to my soul? You need to do that and drag the phantom out. But apparently, it's more complicated because the human's soul is wrapped around the phantom. The document says once you touch the person's soul, you'll be inside the human and see into their past life experiences. While there, when you encounter the phantom, you need to grab onto them. I'll apparently know when you have... What? Oh, I'll apparently know when you have your hands on them, and I'll force you out by making you return to me, she continued. You can do that? Tom asked. She rested her hand on her chest while closing her eyes. Suddenly, Tom involuntarily moved closer to her. Hand on my chest and enough focus I can make you return to me if you go too far, she said. I see. And am I expected to fight? Tom asked. No. Once you drag it out, I'll be fighting it. But if you would be nice, but it would be nice if you helped a little if it turns out the phantom is really tough, she said, putting the paper back into her bag. Tom nodded. Yuna, a familiar voice called. Yuna jumped, and her eyebrows furrowed as she squinted. Oh, please, no, she said, turning her head to see her. Heyo, Angie greeted while running over with a waving hand high in the air. Angie is a young woman with white twin drill hair that faded to violet. She's a big fan of cute yet elegant fashion and is usually found wearing a dress different from the norm. She closed her parasol and pointed it down like a cane, like it was a cane. You are aware this is a phantom. You are aware there is a phantom next to you, right? She said, pointing at Tom while showing off her beautiful painted black nails. Her gaze was solely on Tom, and her fish eyes looked as creepy as they do cute. She can see me? Tom asked, and she was surprised to hear their voice. This is Tom, I guess my partner. I know they're a phantom, but according to Master Levin, this one will be useful to me when hunting, Yuna explained. Oh, I think I've heard about this, Angie said, smiling. Wait, you know? Let me fix this. Wait, you know about this? Yuna asked. Of course. Unlike you, I actually put in the effort to study all things phantom related. I'm one of the best for a reason. Maybe one day you'll know how valuable it is to be so knowledgeable, Angie said, giggling. Yuna forced a smile while holding her fist down. All I need to know is that these things are dangerous and need to be killed, Yuna said. Tisk tisk, my sweet Yuna, you're as cute as you are dumb. At least you don't lack in strength, unlike many other things, Angie said, patting her head, which only made patting Yuna's head. Patting? Then it sounds like she's patting her own head. Patting Yuna's head, which only made yeah, like I say, Yuna angrier, and if anything. Is that how I spell angry? No. Forget. I can't spell right now. Oh, no. There. Angry. Whatever. How do you expect to be an excellent phantom hunter if you know so little about your enemy? She continued while approaching Tom. Hello, friend. Want to know something surprising? Appearing. You can actually. I think apparently. Autocorrect. Thank you. Apparently, you can actually reveal yourselves to those who normally can't see you, she said, winking. I can? Tom asked. Yes. Phantoms effortlessly always have themselves cloaked to be invisible, but they can make themselves visible whenever they wish, she said. Really? How? Yuna asked. By removing their cloak, funny enough. But many phantoms don't like revealing what's underneath. That's why many normal people don't see them as often. I like to assume phantoms are just... Hold up. Sorry. Okay. When someone comes into my room, I always mute because I don't want you to hear our conversations. Okay, by removing their cloak, funny enough, but many phantoms don't like revealing what's underneath. That's why many normal people don't see them as often. I like to assume phantoms are just shy, and that's why they hide, she said, giggling. She gently took Tom's hand. Based on the articles I've read, many people have seen different things. I'm not surprised. Phantoms are known to shapeshift. Many have seen grotesque monsters, things similar to an animal, or a person with noticeable differences that make them seem not quite human. But the one thing they always have in common is that their colors are always on the darker end, and smoke tends to follow them, she continued. She squeezed Tom's hand. I wonder what you're hiding underneath, she said with a serious, hushed tone. Her silver eyes pierced through Tom, sending shivers up their spine. What spine? Okay, I'm kidding. It's a phantom. They still have semi-human appearance. Okay. She soon giggled while happily jumping back. But curiosity killed the cat, so I guess I shouldn't care, she said, grinning from ear to ear. Well, I'm also dancing with death. Well, I'm always dancing with death. What do you look like? Well, I'm always dancing with death. What do you look like underneath? Yuna asked, crossing her arms. Tom moved back. I don't want to remove my cloak, Tom said, pointing their head down while hugging themselves. Why? Yuna asked. I don't know. The thought of it just frightens me, Tom said. Yuna didn't push it, and Angie just giggled. I'm taking another sip of water. Okay, what? Oh. So this is an old story written a very long time ago. I think all writers and even artists in general have something in their past creative endeavors they're ashamed of. Well, I'm not too ashamed of this story. I'm just like I feel like I could have like done more to make it better. And I'm just rereading it because like this is like one of the few stories that I do tolerate. Funny enough. Okay. I don't know. The thought of it just frightens me, Tom says. Yuna didn't push it and Angie just giggled. You can still change your appearance. If you do need to reveal yourself for whatever reason, change yourself into a pet or something, Angie suggested. Maybe. Tom humored the thought, but didn't plan on doing it anytime soon. I lost my spot. Oh, there, wait. No, wait, I lost my spot again. Oh, yeah. Anyways, what are you planning to do? What are you doing here? Yuna asked. Oh, right. I got so distracted by seeing you that I completely forgot. I was actually on my way to see Levin. Master Kaya compiled a list of tasks and missions for him to distribute to his proteges. Angie said, holding up her bag. I can deliver them for you. Oh, I can deliver them for you. I was planning on returning to the base anyways, Yuna said. Aw, thank you, doll. Here you go, Angie said, pulling out the huge pile of letters wrapped in paper and handing them to Yuna. Yuna wasn't ready and nearly dropped the letters, but luckily she collected her bearings, and after balancing herself, she exhaled. She exhausted? She exhaled, I think. Yeah, in relief. Angie opened her parasol and waved while turning away. Since you're doing my job for me, I can enjoy the rest of my day. Bye, Angie said, skipping happily. Yuna groaned. Oh wait, I'm currently brainstorming an idea for Batman story. It's basically a prison drama with my version of various Batman. Ooh. Honestly, I don't know why, but me and my sister, huge fan of Batman. So that sounds interesting. Okay. Since you're doing my job for me, skipping happily, Yuna groaned as she watched Angie run off. You seem irritated, Tom said. No one makes me more madder than Angie, two-faced female dog. Which is a censor word for the bad word. Okay, Yuna, that is so mean. Okay, Yuna groaned while walking off. Excuse me? Tom questioned with widened eyes as they followed. She acts so sweet and kind and elegant, but her compliments are half-assed and backhanded. Yeah, her are half-assed and backhanded, and I just know she thinks she's better than everyone, Yuna said. Oh, Tom mumbled. I'm so glad I was moved to work under Levin. If I had to spend another day with her, I would have ended up killing more than just phantoms, Yuna said. Tom just stayed quiet while remaining behind her. Maybe I should feed off of her bad emotions before her blood actually starts to boil, Tom thought. Boom. Kaya, back at the HQ. This is my time skip thing. It's just like a bunch of enters. Kaya, huh? Kaya. I'm thinking of Genshin. Kaya, huh? Levin said. The two arrived at the base and went straight to Levin with the letters. I hope this time she organizes each mission by difficulty. I don't want another incident with a newbie. Okay, whatever. Newbie, there. To happen again, he said, unwrapping the packages. Yuna and Tom peeked over his shoulder as he started pulling out the letters. There was a card on top of, and each letter had a sticker with a specific color, red, yellow, and green. Levin picked up the card and began to read out loud. Turns out they did categorize the missions, and the stickers symbolized the difficulty, green being the easiest, yellow being moderately difficult, and red being the most challenging. Glad she learned her lesson, he said. He put down the card while picking up a green letter to open and read. My dogs. Oh no. They saw someone outside. Ah, okay. Phantom Hunters, I believe I might need your assistance. I suspect my Professor Otto is possessed by a phantom. You see, my professor is normally a quiet man who keeps to himself, but suddenly he changed and became more cheerful and social. At first, I thought something amazing was happening in his personal life, and I was glad to see him become a fan favorite amongst both the staff and students, but after noticing the school's atmosphere change for the worst, I couldn't help but feel paranoid around him. I've learned a bit about phantoms and how their presence and need to feed can change so much. And their need to feed can change so much. Yeah, that can work. Can change so much something. I want to add something there, but I don't know what. I've learned a bit about phantoms and how their presence and need to feed can change so much in life. Can change so much. Whatever. I'll figure that out later when I'm just gonna think. There we go. So I can get back to that so I can think of a better thing to put there. And I believe he's responsible for my academy suddenly becoming more gray and dull. I hope I'm wrong, but can you please send in someone to check on him? Here's my contact information if you need more information. Okay. Perfect. Oh, my dogs. Okay. Perfect. If this Otto guy is possessed, this would be the perfect mission for you to start on with your phantom partner, Levin said, looking at Tom. But it's labeled easy, Yuna said, crossing her arms. Of course. I know you can handle yourself, but your partner is new to all of this. We got to go easy on them, Levin said, patting Tom's shoulder. Fine, Yuna said, taking the letter. Don't look so down. You and I both know that no phantom is genuinely easy to deal with, Levin said, patting her head. He soon picked up the remaining letters to leave the room. I expect you to get started on this mission and contact that person while I head to the rest of the as I hand out the rest of the others who need an assignment, he said, waving goodbye. Yuna looked at the letters before approaching the telephone. Mission starts, I guess, Yuna said, using her oldie-timey phone as Tom watched off her shoulder? From her shoulder. I'll just put watch. You don't need to add that. Okay, as Tom watched. Part 3, with a little bit of a time skip. I'm going to take another sip of water. Alright. Part 3. Wow, what a fancy... wow, what a fancy academy. I wouldn't be surprised if all the students here are from rich families, Yuna said, looking up at the large building that stretched wide and had a beautiful garden in front. Tom was small and peacefully sitting on her shoulder as they admired the academy with her, like a bird almost. That patch, a female voice spoke. The two looked over to see a young woman in a school uniform. Her pale blonde hair was long and in the style of a loose braid. Her eyes were large and were brown with a hint of orange. She seemed exhausted. You're the phantom hunter who called me? She asked. Yes, are you Rosaria? Yuna asked while resting her hand on her hip. Yes, thank goodness, Rosaria said, finally smiling while rushing to Luna and putting her hands on Yuna's shoulder. Gosh, describing things. Okay. I'm desperate. I'm worried for my friends and classmates. Compared to everyone else in the academy, we all are around him the most. A classmate has already taken their life, and I'm worried more of us will fall, she said, tearing up. Relax, Yuna said, gently stepping back to regain her personal space. Let's go in and show me where he is so I can see what I can do, she said. Wait, Rosaria called, taking her hand. The academy is strict. If you're not a staff member or a student, they won't let you in, she said. I'm a phantom hunter. I'm just doing my job, Yuna said. I know, but the Phantom. But what? Oh, I know, but the Academy cares a lot about appearances. If word gets out about. If word gets out that a. If word gets out that a Phantom Hunter was here, the reputation will go down and people will fear attending the school if there's phantoms around. That could be worded better. Anyways, seriously, the academy is more worried about the reputation than the lives of the people attending, Yuna said, irritated. I know. Honestly, I risk getting myself in trouble if it's discovered I contacted you, she said, looking around. Another sip of water. Nice water. Okay. Wait, I could get risk of contacting you, she said, looking around. I see, so should I just wait for him to leave the school to confront him? Yuna asked. Well, you see, my academy provides dorms to not only the students, but the teachers too, and I'm pretty sure he lives in one, Rosaria said. Yuna stared blankly. I'm convinced, wait. How convenient for him, Rosaria. Why call a phantom hunter to help you deal with this problem if we can't even go in? Yuna asked, staring blankly. I have a plan. The staff usually don't check for IDs too often, so if you dress like a student, you might be able to walk around without any issues, Rosaria said. Seriously? I have to play dress-up? Yuna groaned while pinching the bridge of her nose. Rosaria pulled out a uniform from her bag. And you have one ready, of course, she said, irritated. Time skip. I'm a grown woman. I thought I was already done with school. Yuna said, defeated while walking down the halls next to Rosaria. She was in the school uniform, and under her skirt was a thigh knife holster, so she could have that hidden. She couldn't bring any large weapons, so this was the best she could do. You look less scary now, Tom said happily, swaying side to side. My hunting uniform isn't even that bad, she whispered so Rosaria couldn't hear her. This is his classroom, Rosaria said, pointing. She opened the door and the three looked inside. The teacher's desk was surrounded by students and the professor was happily chatting with them all. He was extremely pale, and his slightly long dark hair was held up in a side ponytail. He wore a white button-up with rolled up sleeves, and he had red bracelets on each wrist that matched the color of his eyes. How intimidating. That's Otto? Yuna asked. Rosaria just nodded silently as she hid against the doorframe. Got anything, Tom? Yuna asked. Yes, I can see them, and I can see a dark mist around him too, Tom said. Gotcha, Yuna said, stepping back into the hall and taking Rosaria's hand to lead her away from the door. Good and bad news. The bad news is that you're right. Otto is possessed. Good news, I can save him, Yuna said. Rosaria smiled while tearing. Please do, she said, placing both her hands on her chest. But since he's surrounded, I can't do anything at this moment. Do you know when he could possibly be alone? Yuna asked. If I remember correctly, I believe he's always the last one out of the faculty office, she said. I guess that can work, Yuna said. Excuse me, a deep yet gentle voice called. Yuna turned back to see Otto leaning on the door frame. I couldn't help but notice you peek from the door. If you want to come in, you can, Otto said. Oh wow, what a lovely voice, Tom said. Otto looked at Tom and smiled. Tom flinched and retreated into Yuna's body, scared. Tom completely forgot that other phantoms could see and hear them. Who's your friend, Rosaria? Otto asked, changing his attention to Rosaria. She's new, and I'm just showing her around. I thought it would be nice to show her your classroom because you always have your doors open for those who want to chat, Rosaria said, forcing a smile. Hello, sir, Yuna said, avoiding his gaze. Don't be shy, Otto said, stepping out and standing in front of her. He moved his body to meet her gaze. Basically, he's slouching down. I guess that's what I was. Yeah, kneeling down there to even see her face. To see her face clearly. And there's no need to be so formal. Just call me Otto, he said. Yuna nodded as the bell soon rang. Oh, gotta run. See you later, Professor Otto, Rosaria said, taking Yuna's hand in order to run off with her. Otto waved with a gentle smile until they turned the corner. Once they were out of sight, he dropped his smile and his eyes turned serious. Huh. He slowly turned away to re-enter his classroom. As for the girls, Yuna was still getting dragged away by Rosaria. Tom slowly peeked out. Is it bad that he saw me? Tom asked. I pretended to seem sad so he would believe you're feeding off my emotions. If we're lucky, he'll buy it and won't suspect that we're working together. And there is the temporary name again. 'Cause, yeah, of course. Yuna said, looking at Tom and making sure her voice was quiet enough for only Tom to hear. Okay, I wish I could hide, but if I can easily detect him, of course he can do the same with me. I'm sorry for giving us away, Tom said. It's out of your control. Stop beating yourself up over this. Just focus on the task in hand, Yuna said. Rosaria soon stopped, and Yuna calmly stood next to her as she tried catching her breath. Rosaria had her hands on her knees, and her head hung low as she struggled to breathe. Now that it's confirmed, Rosaria said, taking in one last breath before standing up straight. I'm more scared of him, she continued. Calm down, I'm here, but just to be safe, leave the school while I deal with this. If he does suspect me, he might target you. This shouldn't take me long, so just visit family or friends, Yuna said. Okay, Rosaria said. She hesitated, but soon jumped on Yuna. Thank you, she said, hugging Yuna tightly. Yuna's face flustered red. Yeah, flustered red, as she tried to step back. This isn't necessary, Yuna said, trying to push herself off, but couldn't. I know I already gave you payment, but by sending in my request, but I know I already gave. I can't read. I know I already gave payment when sending in my request, but I want to personally give you. I want to personally give you something to thank you. When you're free, let me buy you dessert at this cute cafe I know, Rosaria said. You already paid the company. You don't have to do that for me, Yuna said. But I want to, so meet me at the academy gates tomorrow around 4. Bye, Rosaria said, running off while smiling and waving. Seriously? Yuna groaned while slouching. You're happy, Tom said. Shut up, Yuna said, walking off. Aw, experiencing kindness, how nice. Time skip. Okay. Yuna stared out into the the open window, letting both students and teachers alike walk past her. Those in clubs were packing up, and many of the teachers finished their last-minute tasks before leaving. All but one, Otto. Just like Rosaria said, he was usually the last one in the faculty office. Yuna looked around, making sure no one else was in the hall. Ready? She asked. Tom was clinging onto her back and resting their head on her shoulders. I guess, Tom replied, slowly returning into her body to hide until he's needed. Yuna pulled out her knife from its holster and hid it behind her back. She approached the office door and knocked before opening it. Hello? She called. She looked inside and was surprised to see it was empty. But I didn't see him leave, she thought while slowly walking inside. She soon heard the floor creak, and as she was about to turn back, Otto jumped from behind the door and grabbed her wrist while pressing her face down on a table. She groaned in pain. You're not an actual student here, are you? Otto whispered against her ear. He had a malicious smile as he tightened his grip on her wrist. She almost lost her hold on the knife, but squeezed tighter, ignoring the pain coming from her wrist. Tom! I can't even do a dramatic reading. Tom, Yuna yelled. Tom left her body and was about to reach into Otto's chest, but Otto kicked Yuna away while jumping back before Tom could reach him. She groaned as she slammed into a table with stacks of papers that are now scattered around her. Hello again, Otto said, fixing his tie. When I heard you spoke, I knew there was something off. After all, a newly born phantom usually doesn't connect their being to a human, Otto said. I did give us away, Tom said, disappointed in themselves. Yuna picked herself up and raised her knife. Who cares about that now? Just get him, Yuna yelled, running towards Otto. Tom followed her lead and reached for his chest again. Tom jumped away from their attacks, leaving the room a mess. I would be more careful if you hurt this body. You'll only be hurting him more than me. You'll only be hurting him more than me, Otto said, laughing as he ran out of the room. Yuna continued to follow, but slowly loosened her grip on the knife. On the knife, because you gotta be specific with what she's holding. Okay. He's right. I could hurt him, or actually, he's right. I can't hurt him, or I'll act, or he's right. I can't hurt him, or I'll actually hurt Otto the person. Yuna said. Still running, she put her knife back into the holster. I guess I'm stuck using hand-to-hand combat. Better to be bruised than stabbed, she said. Tom dashed forward and tried grabbing Otto. Nope, Otto said, turning around with a large grin as a dark mist busted out from his back and slashed towards Tom. I started reading for a long period of time. It's actually an hour I've been reading. I gotta take another sip of water. Better. Okay. I forgot where. Oh, careful. Even if they're in a human's body, they can still use their abilities, Yuna said. Tom groaned while they struggled to avoid the sudden attacks. Unfair. I don't even know how to use my abilities, Tom said. Well, this could make for good practice, Yuna said, pushing herself to move even faster. See ya, Tom said, giving a two-finger salute before jumping out a window. Once Yuna reached the window, she gripped onto the frame and looked out worried, mainly for Otto, the person's well-being, not the phantom. She scanned the ground below, but saw nothing. That is, until she looked up. Otto was making his way up to the roof, like Spider-Man. Okay, great. Never been a fan of heights, Yuna said, stepping out. What are you doing? Tom asked, worried. Relax, I got this, Yuna said, climbing to the roof. She moved faster than a regular human, and even jumped higher than what an average person could. Tom was flying alongside her and was stunned. How are you doing this? Tom asked. Phantom hunters have more to them than just special sight, she said, reaching the top. Otto was looking at the moon with a smile. You're quite persistent, aren't you? Otto said, turning back with a hand on his hip. Run all you want. I'll follow you until you're out of that man's body and killed by my hands, Yuna said, raising her hand while glaring at him. So the only way to get you off my back is by killing you myself. All right, let's dance, Otto said. Before he made his first move, he looked at Tom with a smile. He raised his arm, which was covered in darkness, and his nails were now sharp and long. And you're one of us. Why are you fighting against your own kind? He said, slowly walking to the side. I didn't ask to be like this, Tom said. Yuna mimicked Otto's walking, both circling around until they made it to the other's original position. Of course you didn't. None of us did. But believe me, once you give in to the desire to feed off of humans, you'll feel so much better, Otto said. Yuna slowly pulled out her knife, knowing she'll need it to defend the attacks from his claws. Compared to others, we're gods, Otto said, raising both of his arms while looking up at the sky. Gods? You're more like demons, ruining people's lives while feeling no remorse, Yuna yelled. We're all just trying to survive in this cruel world. You can't blame me for wanting to live, Otto asked, dashing towards her. With each attack he launched, Yuna blocked them with her knife. Meanwhile, Tom tried reaching for him, but Otto's dark mist was keeping them at bay. You're strong, Otto complimented, but that only made Yuna angrier. They were face to face and had their claw and blade pushing against each other. After sensing a small moment of weakness from her, he jumped in the air and kicked her away while backflipping off of her. Yuna was sent back flying towards the railing, which she ended up flipping over. Luckily, she grabbed onto the railing before she could fall all the way down to the ground. Oh no. Yuna, Tom called, worried. Now I have you, Otto cheered, dashing towards her. He raised his arm, ready to slash down at her fingers, but got interrupted once Tom rammed their body into him. Otto clenched his teeth, annoyed, as he changed his focus to Tom. He swiped at Tom, but they managed to lower their head. They swiped at Tom, but they managed to lower the head in time before it got cut off. Before it could. I can't spell. Could get cut off. Ignoring their fear, Tom pushed themselves towards Otto again and forced their hand into Otto's chest. Lights surrounded the two before Tom vanished. Otto cursed to himself as he placed his hand on his chest. This is what you get for changing your focus. This is what you get for changing your focus off of me, Yuna said, jumping back onto the roof. Snarled. That's meant to be snarled. I'll figure that out later. Otto snarled, but soon snickered. Well, now that... sorry, I'm coughing. Well, now that they're not here to distract me, I can hit you with everything I got. Once you're dead, I won't have to worry about them, Otto said, running at her. Water break again. Alright. As the fight continues, Tom found themselves elsewhere. They slowly opened their eyes and were surprised to find themselves in the body that didn't belong to them. As they scanned their surroundings, they realized they were in a classroom. They turned to look at the window, and the reflection showed Otto, but he was younger. His hair was shorter, and he had noticeable bags under his eyes. He even had bandages around his arms and face. Am I him? Tom thought to themselves. They soon felt something hit the back of their head. Tom touched their head and pulled out a paper spitball. Disgusting. Seriously? How childish, Tom thought while turning back to see a delinquent-looking young man behind him. The delinquent and his friends quietly laughed as Tom turned back to face the teacher. So he was bullied, Tom thought. The bell rang and everyone started grabbing their belongings. Tom was about to follow everyone's lead, but the delinquents snatched their belongings before they could. Come on, Tom. Come on, he said. Come on, he said, walking off with his friends. Or goons, even. What? Tom questioned while following them. Questioned while following them. There we go. Many of the other students avoided their gaze and kept their distance as they walked by. The atmosphere was tense, and students started to whisper. Maybe it won't be as bad, a student whispered. It will be bad. It always is, another student whispered. Tom started to feel anxious. They wanted to turn back and leave, but their body isn't letting them. Eventually, they made it to a storage closet. Tom hesitated, but was soon shoved inside. Shoved in? Same difference. Still putting inside. Time skip. Time passed, and Tom was on the floor leaning against the wall. Of course, it wasn't really them. It was Otto. Otto was beaten and bruised and barely conscious. The delinquents pulled his hair to make him look into their eyes. Done. Otto struggled to speak. The delinquent just smiled while gently slapping his face. See you around, the delinquent said happily while leaving with his friends. Otto sat there for a few minutes in the dark. Eventually, everything hurts. He couldn't bring himself to move. After a while, the door opened and it was a young man and woman. Please help him, the young woman said. Yeah, the young man said. Why did I say it like that? Yeah, the young man said, rushing inside and helping Otto up. They both quickly took him to the infirmary to get treated by the nurse. Otto remained quiet while the other two explained what happened. The young woman was named Seiya, while the young man was named Ace. They're new students. They're new students from a month back who are also siblings. Based on their appearance, they would be. You would have assumed they're twins, but the brother is the oldest. Both have straight light brown hair and hazel eyes, and they both had the same mole on the left side of their lower face. After getting treated, Otto left the infirmary with the siblings. Otto started to walk away, but was stopped by the siblings. Don't leave yet, Seiya said. She was holding his hand. You're Mikleo Otto. That's his first name, by the way. Right? Ace asked. I gave him such a girly voice. Okay. Why is there 2 dots? You're Mikleo Otto, right? Ace asked. Otto just avoided both of their gazes. As at this point, Tom realized he couldn't control Otto's body. These are his memories, and they can't be altered. They just have to experience all these memories and wait until they can move on their own. I've heard the rumors. People say that they always target you, Ace said. Why did they do this to you? Seiya asked. Otto remained quiet for a few seconds. I don't think there's a reason, Otto said, forcefully taking his hand back. They just always do this. But it's better me than anyone else, Otto said. No, that's cruel and unfair to you. You can't let this go on. No, that's cruel and unfair to you. You can't let this go on, Ace said. I can't do anything. The teachers don't care, and his father is the headmaster, Otto yelled. Seiya stepped back and held onto her brother's sleeve, startled by his outburst. The last time I tried to avoid their attacks, they just went after the next available person. They will always get away with it, and I don't want anyone to get hurt, so I willingly choose to be their punching bag, Otto explained. But look at you. If this continues, I fear you might die, Seiya said. I don't care. Just forget it. Just forget about it. The nurse will even ignore what you said. Just leave me alone, Otto said, walking away. Seiya and Ace looked at each other, concerned until Ace furrowed his eyebrows and looked back at Otto. No, Ace said, chasing after Otto. Take his hand and turn him around to face them. I promise you I'll find a way to save you, Ace said. Save me? Otto said, squinting his eyes with a skeptical frown. That sentence made him almost cringe. Yeah. Yes, Seiya cheered. Her voice was a gentle whisper, but she spoke loud enough to hear her determination. I refuse to let this continue. We'll find a way to get him in trouble, she continued. Otto blinked slowly and turned away. You can do that. I'm leaving, Otto said while walking away, but he was startled when they both locked their arms with his. What are you? Come with us. Our mother makes amazing tea and desserts, Seiya said. I'm sure it will bring a smile to your face, Ace said. I just want to go home, Otto groaned. Soon everything started to change. It felt like fast flashbacks that skipped a lot of the in-between. It showed Otto enjoying tea with the siblings. Soon it changed to Otto and the siblings who somehow got their hands on a portable camera. The next memory was of them using the camera to take photos of the delinquents doing not so legal things out in the city, and they even had the camera hidden for the next time the delinquents went after Otto. Later on, they found students who were willing to tell their accounts of the events that happened and how cruel the delinquents. How do you spell delinquents? The delinquents were to everyone. Once they had enough evidence, they went to the headmaster and showed them the proof. The headmaster was stunned by his son and his son's friends' actions. He quickly took them all out of the school. He quickly took them all out of the school. Otto and the siblings weren't sure how the headmaster was going to punish his son, but they didn't care. They succeeded. The small group was happy. They soon took a photo of themselves celebrating. Okay. I can't believe this, Otto said, holding back tears. Don't start crying. If I see tears, I'll be weak, Ace said, shutting his eyes tight. His sister was already tearing a bit and wiping them away with one hand. It took a while, but we did it. We fulfilled our promise to you, Seiya said. Otto smiled. You two really did become my saviors, Otto said. The siblings smiled, feeling incredibly proud of themselves. This honestly feels like a dream. I barely know you two. You could have ignored me like everyone else, yet you didn't. Why? We're not even in the same class, he said. Ace patted his shoulder. Our father always told us to protect those who need it and to stand up to those who are cruel, Ace said. And the fact that you were willing to sacrifice yourself and get hurt for everyone touched us. Of course we couldn't just sit back and let him hurt you. You're obviously a good person and deserve better, Mikleo, Seiya said, placing her hand on her chest. Ace nodded in agreement. You think too highly of me, Otto said. We mean it, Ace said, gently patting his back. Seiya took both of their arms and hugged them tightly. I'm just so happy. I'm sure everyone will be pleased to hear the news too, Seiya said. Otto smiled while nodding. We were so excited about this achievement. If only we knew what would happen next. Tom heard Otto's voice as the surroundings turned dark. Once their vision returned, Tom saw Otto running in the rain. He was clenching a note in his hand, and had a photograph Hold on, wait. Oh wait, he was clenching a note in his hand. That had a photograph, and hidden in his pocket was a knife. I don't know why I read that so weirdly before. Okay. It was the new year, and everything was going smoothly. I was happy. They were happy. I never felt more at ease whenever I walked inside the school. I was safe. I was safe from them. Safe from his torture. At least I thought I was. One day I received a letter. All it said was abandoned gym, and it had a photograph. It was of both Seiya and Ace. Please don't let this be true, Oto muttered. He forced the doors open and walked to the gym. He looked okay. This is where things get a little too much, and where the warning that I have in the corner, which if you see sexual assault, murder, and stuff like that, yeah, that's coming up soon. So I know it's a spoiler, but I feel like I gotta tell people because I don't want. It's a trigger warning. Okay. Please don't let this be true, Otto muttered. He forced the door open and walked into the gym. He looked back at the photo and noticed they were in a room that had equipment. He opened each door he saw until he eventually found the equipment storage. Once he saw what was inside, his eyes widened and he fell to his knees. No, Otto muttered. Ace was covered in blood and bruises and was tied to heavy equipment. On the other side of the room was Seiya, laying on one of the gym mats. She was also covered in bruises and didn't have any clothes. Seiya, Ace, Otto muttered. He heard laughter behind him, and once he turned back, he saw the delinquent. I gotta say, that Ace fella was tough. Too bad I'm just a little stronger. And his sister was such a sweet treat. I'm sure he enjoyed the show, the delinquent said. I hate this guy. Otto slowly stood up. You, Otto groaned. Huh? What? Are you mad? The delinquent asked, approaching him. Should have thought twice before trying to go against me, he said, shoving Otto back. You should have just been a good boy and let me do as I pleased. The delinquent continued. Now look at what happened. This is all because of you, he continued while pushing Otto back by poking his forehead. Otto started shaking but not out of fear. Me, Cleo, Ace muttered. I said that so sadly. Me, Cleo, Ace muttered, which immediately caught Otto's attention. Ace, Otto called, looking at him. The delinquent soon shoved Otto, causing him to fall to the ground. I didn't tell you to look away from me, did I? The delinquent asked. Once Otto opened his eyes, he saw Seiya. Her eyes were slightly open but full of tears. She looked broken. Seeing this snapped something within Otto. He stood up and looked directly at the delinquent. Not a single emotion could be read off of his face. Before the delinquent could say anything, Otto pulled out the knife and jammed it into his throat. The delinquent was stunned and slowly stumbled. How do you spell stump? Stumbled. There we go. Slowly stumbled back until he eventually fell. Blood continued to spray out of him. Disgusting. Okay. Me, Cleo? Ace called once again, surprised by his actions. Otto's cold expression soon returned to one of guilt. He fell back down to his knees, and many tears started to roll down his face. I'm sorry. I was too late, Otto cried. Seiya and Ace were silent as he cried. I couldn't save you. After freeing Ace from his restraints and finding something for Seiya to wear, I took them to the police station to explain everything that happened. It didn't take much convincing due to the amount of visible injuries the siblings had. I confessed that I did kill him, but thanks to the siblings' testimonies and those who knew me personally, I wasn't punished harshly. I'm not a cold-blooded murderer, and everyone was ready to defend my name. In the end, they wrote it off as a form of self-defense, and all I did was spend the night in the station. After the incident, my family took me away took me out of that school, and both Ace and Seiya left soon after. We went our separate ways without saying a word to each other, and I never saw them again. This never would have happened if they didn't involve themselves with me. I should have continued to be tortured. If I could have died, at least even if I could have died, at least they wouldn't have to go through that. This was all my fault. They hate me. They hate me. Everything was dark for a moment until the vision returns. Now Otto was standing in front of a class. Yes. Now Otto was standing in front of a classroom. I feel like saying classroom sounds more nicer. In front of a classroom. He's older. This must be the present. He's now teaching in the same class he was tortured in. In the same school he was tortured in. Yikes. Okay. Stop, a young man whined. The person behind him was hitting his head with paper. Whenever he looked away, the bell rang. Make sure to read the next chapter, and Make sure to read the next chapter, and you, young man, come here. We need a chat, Otto called. The bully rolled his eyes and walked to his desk, as everyone started to pack up. Once the last student left, Otto looked down at the student with a soulless expression. It startled the young man. If I catch you toying with that student again, I won't be so kind the next time I meet with you alone, he said. His words were cold and his stare was intense. That the once timid and quiet teacher is now suddenly so frightening. It caught the student by surprise. Do I make myself clear? He asked. Yes, sir, the young man stuttered. Good. You're excused, Otto said. The young man stumbled back. He quickly grabbed his bag and ran out of the classroom. Once he was gone, Otto sighed as he sat down. He looked at the small black and white photo on his desk, which was the same one he took with the siblings when they were celebrating. He couldn't fight back the tears. I couldn't help but feel enraged whenever I see any form of bullying. When I catch someone in the act, I take them aside and intimidate them to stop. If that doesn't work, I give them a harsh punishment that the school allows me to give. It works and deterred many of the students from bullying, but now rumors of me spread. Don't mess with him. He's scary. He's always so quiet when he's not teaching. He has to be hiding something. I heard Professor Otto killed a guy. Don't get on his bad side. He's so scary. When class is over, I run to leave. I was feared by most and ignored by many. I didn't even speak to the other teachers. I just remained in my classroom and patrolled the halls and peeked into rooms where someone could potentially get bullied in secret. I was a mess until one day everything changed. Otto was standing on the rooftop looking up at the moon. Soon a phantom appeared, but at the time Otto wasn't aware of it because he doesn't have the special sight of hunters. It moved closer and sunk their hand into his chest. Once they vanished, everything went dark. Tom was now in his original. Tom was now back. Yep, back in their body again. I'm me, Tom said, looking at their hands. The surroundings started to return, and he was at the front entrance to the academy. I need to find the phantom, they said, flying towards the building. Meanwhile, both Yuna and the phantom continued to fight. Otto was bruised, but no fatal injuries, while Yuna was covered in scrapes and a bit of blood. If only I could stab you, Yuna groaned. Otto just laughed gleefully while hugging himself as his black mist launched out of his back and towards her. She raised her arms to block the attack, and the mist bursted into pieces. It felt almost like a bunch of nails were flying at her. Yuna couldn't take the pain and jumped back and started to run to get a breather. Tom, hurry up! I'm dying here, Yuna complained. Okay. Tom continued to search. They looked into each room, peeked through many windows, scanned the grounds, yeah. And roof. Wait. No, okay. They looked into each room, peeked through many windows, scanned the grounds and roof, and even looked in the garbage bins. Nothing. Tom got so frustrated and slammed his hand on a desk. It was Otto's desk. Where are you? Tom asked. They looked up and saw the photo of Otto and the siblings, but it was different. Both Ace and Seiya looked the same, but Otto was different. In his place was not a dark figure. In his place was now a dark figure. What? Tom questioned, picking up the photo. Unison felt something strange, but while running, she was in it was It was intense and strong. It was even paired with a shiver that crawled up her spine. You got him, Yuna said. She placed a hand on her chest and started to breathe. Return to me, Yuna said, trying to calm down. Suddenly, Otto stopped running after her. Ah, he groaned after gripping onto his chest. Yuna stopped running and looked back at him. She didn't let this distract her and continued wishing for Tom to return to her. Soon Tom started to exit out of Otto's body and dragged the phantom out with them. Once they both were completely out, Otto closed his eyes and collapsed to the ground. Tom! Yuna yelled, running towards the two while holding up her knife. The phantom forced themselves out of Tom's grip and tried to fly away, but was stopped by Yuna when she threw her knife at them. It stabbed deep into its back, and the phantom shrieked, feeling the burn that came from the knife. This knife is clearly no ordinary blade. It was made with concentrated energy that only phantom hunters can produce. These weapons are the only things capable of killing a phantom. Not even their ability to phase through items can save them. It fell back down to the roof floor, and Yuna jumped on top of it to push the knife deeper. The phantom's body started to stretch and sharpen, trying to get her off, but she was persistent and kept pushing down the knife. Eventually, the phantom stopped moving and bursted into shards that looked almost like broken glass. The cloak being all that remains the same. Yuna stood up while picking it up. I'll be burning you later, she said, exhausted. Otto? Tom said, kneeling beside him. Yuna quickly ran over to them. I saw his memories, he whispered. Yuna just stood there, unsure of what to say. The silence was broken when Otto quietly groaned. Let's take him somewhere safe, Yuna said. She began to pick up Otto by his arm while Tom slowly shrank themselves down. Yuna proceeded to walk Yuna proceeded to walk as Tom floated to her shoulder to rest there. Once they made contact, Yuna flinched and froze. The light in her eyes vanished for only a second, but once it returned, she quickly snapped out of it and shook her head. What the? I saw, she said, looking at Otto. You saw the memories? Tom asked, surprised. I think I did, she said, grabbing onto her head with her free hand. Let's just not talk about it. Not now, at least, she continued. She continued to walk. Time skip, which every time I do a parts, it always is just a time skip. Otto groaned. Yuna and Tom sat up straight after hearing his voice. Otto was resting in one of the beds in the infirmary, while the other two... That's not how you're supposed to... While the other two pulled over a chair to remain close to him. Otto? Yuna called. Otto slowly opened his eyes and turned his head to look at her. As he slowly sat up, the sheet on top of him slipped down. A student? He mumbled while looking at her, confused. Oh, no, I'm a phantom hunter, not a student, she explained while shaking her head. Do you know what happened? Yuna asked. I think I remember blacking out, and when I came to, it felt like I wasn't in control of myself. It felt like I was trapped in someone's body and looking through their eyes, but it was my body. I felt trapped in my own body, Otto said, stunned. A phantom possessed you, which is why I'm here, Yuna said. Otto remained quiet. I see. I shouldn't be surprised. Of course I would be their target, Otto said. He slowly left the bed and struggled to approach. He slowly left the bed and struggled to approach the exit to the infirmary. Otto, wait. If a phantom can possess you, it could happen again. For your safety, you should stay with a phantom hunter to keep other phantoms away, Yuna said. I don't want to be someone's burden. If I'm an easy target to possess, you should just kill me now so I won't cause any more trouble, Otto said, looking back at Yuna with an empty expression. Sad man. I'm not going to kill you, sir, Yuna said, feeling genuinely concerned for him. Then I'll just be leaving, Otto said, opening the door. Yuna quickly stood up and followed after him with Tom. It was silent as they left the building and approached the dorms for the teachers. Yuna remained close to his side until they made it to his room door. Otto slowly looked at her. I said I don't want to be someone's burden. Go away, he said. I just don't want you to do something that might put you in danger, Yuna said. I'm not planning on ending my own life if that's what you're worried about. Living with this guilt is my punishment, and I don't plan on going out like a coward, Otto said, making his hands into fists. I just want to be alone in my room, so please go, he said, walking into his room and slamming the door. Yuna lowered her head as Tom peeked out from behind her. What do we do now? Tom asked. The mission is over. Let's report back to Master, Yuna said, turning away. But Otto, Tom said, looking back. She remained quiet as she dashed down the stairs, forcing Tom to join her. Time skip. Congratulations! Master Levin cheered while clapping happily. I knew you could do it, but oh boy, you look messed up, he said, raising his goggles off his face to look closely at Yuna. I'd like to see you try defending yourself against a person you can't hurt, Yuna complained while crossing her arms. Levin picked up a jar from a drawer and opened it while approaching her. Come here, Levin said, grabbing some of the cream from the jar to apply on the visible cuts on her face. Ah, stop, Yuna groaned while slapping his hand away. Levin grabbed her chin and continued to apply the cream. Stop squirming. This will make your injuries heal overnight, so if you know what's best for you, let me do this. I don't want you walking around with scars, Levin said. She slouched but accepted the medicine as Tom floated on top of her head. Tom, is it? Levin asked, noticing them. That's what I'm going by, I guess, they said shyly. How did it go? The mission, I mean, Levin asked. I feel bad for Otto. I wish we could have done more for him, Tom said. That's the hard part of this job. The most we can do is send a caretaker to keep them protected from danger, Levin said, stepping away and washing his hands. I'll speak with Kaya to see if she can assign one to him. He continued, drying his hands before putting the jar away. But leaving him like that doesn't sit right with me. He needs help, closure, something that can cheer him up, Tom said, flying around Levin in a way that could almost make him dizzy. Our work is to kill phantoms. We're not exactly therapists or magic makers. We can't exactly heal their troubles, Levin said, crossing his arms. But Yuna spoke, but quickly shut her mouth while stepping back. Almost embarrassed, Levin was surprised by her sudden action. Do you wish to help him too? Levin asked. She remained quiet while looking away. Levin sighed. You really did turn soft. I'm sorry, but all we can do is leave him to deal with his own struggles. He chuckled. Why would he chuckle? That's a little out of character. I can't accept that. Isn't there anything I can do? Can't I feed on his bad emotions like I do with Yuna? Tom asked. No, not a good idea, Levin said, shaking his head and hand. Tom was about to speak up again until Levin slammed his desk with the document. Look, I would be lying to you if I said we didn't try that. I know I say fandoms can eat away bad emotions and help ease most people, like what Tom is doing for you, Yuna, but it's not a good solution for people like Otto. You're a lot stronger, and you don't let your negative emotions consume you so easily, which is why it's fine for Tom to feed off of you. Your negative emotions aren't as intense. Otto, on the other hand, is clearly a broken man with phantoms targeting him. If Tom were to consume his emotions, it would be bad for both of them, he explained with a sigh. In the past, someone with a phantom partner visited a victim frequently to remove their pain, but it's not a permanent solution. Their pain will always return because removing their emotions isn't going to remove their memories of what caused them that pain in the first place. It will always return, which means the phantom has to constantly feed off their emotions in order to keep them happy. But after a while, the victim starts to go insane, and the phantom can't handle the constant flow of negative emotions they consume daily, he said. The two were surprised to see how serious Levin appeared. He slowly flipped through the pages in the document and soon pulled one out. It had a photo of a giggling young woman and in a straitjacket and a document that describes her condition. The victim was put in a mental hospital because all their sadness and anger turned into insane joy. They treated all the bad things in the world as something to smile and laugh about. As for the phantom, it wasn't pretty. If we didn't put them down, the hunter would have turned corrupted alongside their phantom, he continued. He pinched the bridge of his nose while turning away. Believe me, I'm not happy about this either. I genuinely wish our phantoms could fully remove people's pain, but they just can't without consequences, he said. So it's helpless, Yuna stuttered as Tom lowered their head. Levin shook his head and softly smiled while patting both of their heads. No, you two seen into his past. If you really wish to help the man, use the information you got and see if there's anything you can do, Levin said. Yuna's eyes widen. Master, do I have permission to continue this assignment? She asked, determined. Levin paused before nodding. Water. Okay. There we go. Master, okay. Sure, but if I need you, you better return to me. Your duties here are more important after all, Levin said, poking the desk a few times to emphasize his words. Yuna smiled with a nod before she ran out of the room. Thank you, Master, she yelled. Levin just waved with a smile. What are you going to do? Tom asked, following behind her. Research. If we want to help Otto, we need to find the source of his troubles, Yuna said. Seiya and Tom said as Yuna nodded. I'm sorry, sweetie, but unless they're a person who was possessed by a phantom or someone who sent in a request. Give me a moment. Sorry, there's someone in my room. Okay. I'm sorry, sweetheart. But unless you're a person who was possessed by a phantom or someone who sent in a request, I probably don't have any documents on them. A woman said as she lowered her smoking pipe. Her smile was gentle and her eyes were sleepy. She's an archivist. The Phantom Hunters hired to keep track and preserve information from past assignments. She also considers herself a librarian since she's in charge of looking after the library too, which is where you can commonly find her. She honestly might be one of the most relaxed people that work with the Hunters. I should have expected that, Yuna said, disappointed. Don't look so down, she said, pointing her smoking pipe at Yuna. If you once lived in the city, I'm sure someone might know If they once lived in the city, I'm sure someone must know something about their whereabouts. Just ask around. Be social, she said. Right. Thanks, Polly, Yuna said, walking away slowly. No problem, Polly said, waving calmly. How do I spell calmly? Hold on. Gosh, okay, there, that's why, okay. Where was I again? Oh, no problem, she said, waving calmly until she jumped. Wait, she called, her relaxed expression changed to a wide-eyed expression. You'll be joining the girls' getaway, right? We really want you to join us again, Polly said. Maybe, Yuna said nervously and picking up speed. Okay, don't forget, Polly yelled as the door closed. Tom looked at the door and back at Yuna, who was slightly pink in the face. Girls' getaway? Tom asked, tilting their head to the side. They're too much for me. I can't join these getaways without fearing for my life, Yuna said, shaking her head. Let's continue the search tomorrow. It's too dark out to find anything, to find anyone at this hour, she said, returning to her room. The next day, the two returned to the school and Yuna stared blankly at her surroundings while leaning against the wall and crossing her arms. Tom, on the other hand, was floating above her, keeping an eye out for someone specific. I can't believe we're doing this, Yuna complained. We need to start somewhere, and she did offer to take you out, Tom said. She sighed as a vehicle stopped in front of the two. The door opened, and they were greeted by a smiling Rosaria. She was no longer in her uniform, but in a pretty dress perfect for out in the town. I'm so glad you're here, Rosaria cheered. She jumped out and took Yuna's hand to pull her inside the vehicle. Tom quickly followed before the door shut. How did it go? We killed the Phantom, Yuna replied. So Professor Otto isn't dangerous to be around now? That's good, Rosaria said, exhaling in relief while placing a hand on her chest. Whew. Yeah, but there's a chance it could happen again, Yuna mumbled, resting her back flat against the seat and staring out the window to watch the people on the streets. She hoped maybe she'll spot the siblings, but doubted she would. Rosaria looked down, frowning. What? She hoped Rosaria looked down, frowning. Rosaria, I only agreed to join you this evening because I need some assistance. Do you know anything about Seiya or Ace? Oh yeah, I believe they were mentioned in the rumors about the professor when he was younger. What about them? Rosaria asked. Do you know anything about them? Not really. All I know is from the details in the rumors. It's honestly sad to think about, Rosaria said, playing with her hair. Well, I'm gonna also remove that one because I don't think that needs to be there. Playing with her hair. Where did that go? While frowning. Yes, I know. Do you at least know someone who might know them? She asked. Rosaria squinted her eyes while puffing her cheeks, trying incredibly hard to think of anything. Yes, I might. The cafe we're going to is owned by my mother's friend who used to go to the same academy as Otto. I only know this because she once told me she attended my academy when she was younger and knew my professor, she replied. Perfect. I need to speak with them, Yuna said. They arrived at the cafe and Rosaria waited at the table and ordered for them as Yuna spoke with the owner. Oh, those two. It was so traumatic that they had to leave. It was so traumatic that they had to leave the city. I always wondered what happened to them, and when I left to visit a few towns for business, I found them by chance. They are running a clothes shop now. I can give you their address, she said. Yeah, please and thank you, Yuna said. The owner gave her a note with the address, and Yuna put it in her pocket while looking towards the door. Yuna, it would be impolite if you just left Rosaria, Tom said, glaring at her despite knowing their faces hidden under a hood. But I got what I need, Yuna argued. You haven't even had breakfast. Come on. Tom crossed their arms to better show the disappointment. Yuna groaned and walked back to Rosaria. Their order already arrived. Wow, that's a lot, Yuna said, staring at the table while slowly sitting down. I'm not sure what you wanted. So I ordered all the things I liked. I'm hoping you would enjoy at least one of my recommendations, Rosaria said. Yuna nodded and looked at the teacup in front of her. It's mint tea, but if you prefer a coffee or anything else, I'll be willing to ask them to change it, Rosaria said. No, this is fine, Yuna said, taking a sip. Rosaria smiled as she picked up a slice of cake and began to eat. Yuna watched her, and flashes of memories started to spark in her mind. Yuna, want a slice? A young voice called. A glimpse of a young woman holding a cake appeared in Yuna's mind. Stop, Yuna's voice giggled as another glimpse of that same young woman pushed the slice of cake closer to Yuna's face appeared. It almost seems like she wanted to playfully smash the cake onto Yuna's face. There we go. Yuna lowered her cup and gazed at the liquid inside with a sorrowful expression. Tom unexpectedly flinched and looked at her, sensing the sadness all around her. Yuna? Tom questioned. Their voice had an unusual echo, and when they looked at their hands, black and blue vein-like lines appeared as their arms darkened. They started to shake. What's happening? Tom asked. Their voice only sounded like a whisper. They placed a hand over their mouth. Am I Why am I feeding? I don't want this, Tom thought. They tried to speak, but it felt as though they were choking. They grabbed onto their throat, hoping this would stop. Oh, I love these. Don't be shy. Try some of these, Rosaria said, putting a biscuit in Yuna's mouth. It caught her by surprise, but after chewing, Yuna smiled. It is good, she said. Her voice was soft and quiet. Rosaria giggled as she moved to the plate closer to her. Tom fully collapsed to the ground and quietly coughed. The black and blue lines disappeared alongside the choking feeling in their throat. What was that? Tom thought. Yuna turned back to look at Tom. Tom, she whispered. I need to rest, Tom said, slowly vanishing back into her body. Yuna returned her attention back to the table, unsure of what just happened. She was about to take another slice another sip from her cup, but stopped after noticing something strange. Her thumb had a black line that appeared almost like an ink-drawn ring. It couldn't be rubbed off. Time skip. I'll make sure to tell my mother you said hello, Rosaria said, waving goodbye to the owner as she left the cafe. She ran over to Yuna, who was standing awkwardly to the side. Thanks for the meal. It was nice, Yuna said. No need to thank me. I want to repay you, Rosaria said, swaying happily. Yuna nodded before closing her eyes while clearing her throat. Rosaria, you're a very sweet and kind girl. You're even a lot more cheerful than most. If you ever encounter another phantom problem, don't be afraid to contact us again, Yuna said, handing her a card. Rosaria took it. This is the number when you want to get direct contact with us. Just say my name and they'll hand me your message, she continued. Rosaria gently smiled. You're very kind, Rosaria said, holding the card close to her chest. No, just worried. Even the happiest of people can be targeted. So if you feel anything is off about you or the people around you, please call, Yuna said. Sure will, Rosaria said. She approached her vehicle. Do you need a ride back? She asked. No, I have to be somewhere else, Yuna said, pulling out of the note with the address. Be safe, Rosaria, she said, waving. You too, Rosaria replied with a smile. Once she was completely gone, Yuna began walking the other way. I'm gonna miss her. She was nice, Tom said, slowly appearing on her shoulder. I'm sure this won't be the last time we see her, Yuna said, heading straight to the train station. Time skip. It was a quiet ride as the two traveled. Tom was staring outside the door, fascinated by the surroundings outside. All the beautiful fancy buildings started to dwindle and change into grassy landscapes with farms. When towns did appear, they were small, and the buildings were made of wood. It was different. It was nice and calm, far different from the lively city. Eventually, they reached the destination and stepped out of the train. Yuna approached a map on the wall while raising the note with the address. By following this path, we'll find the shop and spot. Oh, we'll find the shop and spot their. We'll find the shops and spot their sign. Their sign shouldn't be too difficult. Sure. Shouldn't be too difficult, Yuna said, pointing. Whoa! Whoa! Oh, Tom said, looking at the people. What are you doing? Yuna asked, staring blankly at them while searching. I'm surprised how different everything is, Tom said. Of course, in the city it's crowded and people judge you for your status and wealth, but out here people are a lot more relaxed and it's honestly peaceful. But for the most part at least, Yuna said, walking. Sounds lovely, Tom said, following behind Yuna onto the path. Tom flew above and around her, admiring the town and watching the people. There was a group of kids running around and wielding sticks as swords, two women chatting while carrying boxes of fruit, and men with farming tools walking by. I could have worded that a little better. I'll do that later. Tom happily admired all the new faces as Yuna strictly focused on finding the shop. Eventually, she found its sign. There, Yuna said as she ran towards it. Seiya's clothes shop, she said. She looked at Tom, and they both nodded before walking inside. The bell rang, and inside there was Seiya holding. Why does it autocorrect? Seiya holding some clothes. Her appearance was different from Oto's memory, but it was still obvious that it was her, just a little older now. Welcome, Seiya greeted with a bright smile before stopping. before pausing. Before pausing. Said with a bright smile before pausing. Once she looked at Yuna, she flinched and ran towards the back. Ace! She called. Wait! Yuna called while reaching her hand out. Why did she run? She asked. Ace stepped out with a serious expression. Sorry if this seems sudden or even frightening, miss. Miss. There. Miss. Sorry if this seems sudden or even frightening, miss. Or, hold up. No, yeah, it just doesn't want to... Okay. I'll just take away miss. Or even frightening, but you have something dangerous attached to you. Allow me to get rid of it, Ace said, pulling out a knife and glaring at Tom. Tom yelped while hiding behind Yuna. Wait, relax. This is my partner. I can see them too, Yuna yelled, shoving her badge while blocking him from reaching Tom with her other hand. You can see phantoms too? Ace questioned while lowering his weapon. His sister peeked out from the back room. Yes, this one is different. You don't have to worry about them, Yuna said. Hi, Tom mumbled while waving. It talks, Seiya gasped. Now that everyone's calm, I came here to speak with you two, Yuna said, clearing her throat. I'm not sure how to bring this up directly. Do you two remember a man named Oto? She asked. Mikleo Oto. Mikleo Oto. There we go. Do you two remember a man named Mikleo Oto? She asked. Seiya's eyes widened as she stepped closer. Mikleo? She asked. Yuno nodded. How is he? She asked, raising her voice. Don't tell me he's in trouble, Ace said. Concerned as he stepped forward alongside his sister, Yuna stepped back to keep her personal space. Don't say he's dead if that's why you're here, Seiya yelled. No, Yuna said, shaking her head and hands. He is sort of in trouble. He is sort of in trouble, Tom continued. Yuna slapped their face. Don't just drop that on them so abruptly, Yuna whispered. What happened? Ace asked. Both him and her sister moved even closer. He was possessed by a phantom, but we already dealt with that. The downside is that he's still a target for other phantom attacks, Yuna explained. Oh no, Seiya said, covering her mouth. Mikleo, Ace whispered, while lowering his gaze. Oto isn't doing well mentally, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but his only regret seems to be the both of you, Yuna explained. Where his regrets? Yeah, where his regrets? Why? That should be a question mark. Seiya asked. I think he feels at fault for what happened to you two in the past, Tom muttered. Seiya flinched and lowered her head while holding Ace and hiding behind him. Ace patted her head to calm her. We don't like remembering that day, but it wasn't his fault. We know that, Ace said. He doesn't seem to think so. Because you got involved with his problems and faced the consequences for it, he put all the blame on himself for what happened, Yuna said. I think he even believes you two despise him for what happened, Tom added. It was our choice to help him. We don't regret that. Ace said with a serious tone. And we still consider him a friend even with the lack of contact. If our parents didn't make us move away, we would have continued to be by his side, Seiya whispered. Well, that's good to hear. If it turns out they did hate him, this would have been way more complicated, Yuna whispered as Tom could Yuna whispered so Tom could hear her. Is there any way you could visit him, ease his mind? Tom asked, moving closer to them. Our responsibility is here. We protected this town from phantom attacks, Ace said hesitantly. But Mikleo needs us, she said, squeezing his sleeve. Ace crossed his arms while thinking for a few seconds. You're right. It will only eat... You're right. It will only eat away at me if we don't act now, Ace said. And everything here has been calm lately. It shouldn't hurt to go visit, Seiya added to ease Ace's mind. So you'll come? Tom asked, hopeful. Wait, I'm still worried about one thing. How will he react to seeing us? It's been years. Our reunion will be far from happy based on what you told us. What if we scare him away? Or worse, what if he reacts with anger? I don't want our presence to potentially cause him a breakdown, Ace said, biting his nails. We'll just take it slow, Seiya suggested. If it means anything, I can speak with Otto first. By telling him about you two beforehand might give him time to prepare himself, Seiya suggested. That would be wonderful. I'll get my things. I'll get my things ready. I'll be back, Seiya yelled before running to the back. Ace sighed. It's been years since we left this town. Returning to the city? How nerve-wracking, Ace muttered while following her to the back. Yuna leaned against the wall as Tom shrank to sit on her shoulder. So, how are we going to approach Otto? Tom asked. We knock on his door and tell them these two want to talk to him, Yuna said. That would most definitely scare him away, Tom said. There's not exactly an easy way to go about this, Yuna said, crossing her arms. I guess. Just try to go easy on him, Tom said. No promises, she says. Time skip. It was late, but that didn't stop Yuna from returning to the city and heading straight to Otto's home. She knocked calmly on the door and stood awkwardly, listening to the shuffling footsteps inside. Eventually he opened the door, and after realizing it was her, he glared. Only staff and students are allowed on these gates. Go or I'll call for guards to escort you, he snarled. I'll fix that later. He was about to close the door, but was stopped by Yuna blocking it with her foot. Wait, there's people who want to see you again. It's been a while, and they seem interested in speaking with you again, Yuna said. Excuse me? Otto questioned as he squinted at her. Yuna didn't say anything and just looked at him with a serious expression. Otto remained silent for a few seconds until his eyes widened. Leave. He tried? Until his eyes widened, finally realizing it. Leave. He tried even harder to close the door, but Yuna was far stronger. She forced the door open which pushed him back. Don't be a coward. Those two want to see you, and you're denying them this? Yuna yelled. I can't. After everything that happened, I can never show them my face again, Otto said. And why is that? She yelled. How will only be a reminder of their past. A stain on their lives. I'm no better than a phantom. If they see me again, I'll ruin their lives again. I don't want to hurt them again, Otto said. What makes you think you'll hurt them? She asked. My whole life I've been nothing but my whole life interrupting a serious moment to fix an error. My whole life it's been nothing but tragedy after tragedy, almost like I'm cursed. If they involve themselves with me again, bad things will most definitely happen. Bad things will most certainly happen, he said. That's not true, a voice outside spoke. Otto flinched while stepping back. Ace soon opened the door wider for him and his sister to be visible. Mikleo, Seiya called gently. Mikleo clenched his teeth while lowering his gaze. He couldn't force himself to look at them. They came to see you. At least hear them out, Yuna said. Seiya stepped inside while slowly raising her arm to touch his shoulder, but before she could make eye contact with him, he jumped back. The sudden reflex startled Seiya, and she managed to catch his face. He was consumed with fear and sorrow, barely holding back the tears and desperately wanting to barely holding back the tears that desperately want to come out. He soon ran around her and past Ace to exit through the door. Wait, Seiya yelled. The siblings started to chase after him, and Yuna was right behind them. No, Otto muttered repeatedly. Mikleo, wait, Ace yelled. They left the academy. They left the academy's premises and continued the chase on the street. I can easily tackle him, Yuna muttered, ready to pick up speed until Tom flew in front of her. I don't think that's a good idea. Taking him by force might make him act hostile. His legs will eventually give up. Let's just wait until he tires himself out, Tom says. Okay. Yuna hesitated for a second, but soon slowed down her running. Fine, let's see how far he'll take this, Yuna agreed. The chase continued until they all were deep in the city. The three were slowly becoming exhausted, while Yuna kept a distance from them. She was fine. She was far more calm in comparison to them. Mikleo, we just want to talk, Seiya yelled. What happened wasn't your fault. We want you to know that, Ace yelled. Otto covered his ears as tears rolled down his face. I'm a monster. I'll only ruin everything. That's another mistake. I'll only ruin everything again, Otto's thoughts were louder than the siblings' voices. All that was on his mind were his failures in the past and his fears of what could happen to the siblings in the future. Because of this, his determination to stay as far away from them grew. Seiya nearly tripped while running, but she refused to let that slow her down. Both her and Ace desperately didn't want to lose track of Otto. Sadly, a group of men stepped out of a bar which blocked the siblings' path. They nearly ran into the group if it weren't for Yuna. She grabbed the collars of their shirt and pulled them both back in time before they crashed into the group. Despite no one getting injured, the group of men still seemed irritated. Careful, my voice cracked. Careful, one of the men yelled, irritated. Sorry, Seiya said, trying to balance herself. You better be, the man yelled. Hey, don't talk to her like that, Ace yelled, glaring while moving his sister behind him. Yuna soon stepped forward. Maybe you should watch where you're going before leaving a building, Yuna complained. Excuse me, the man asked with a glare. Yuna returned the look of irritation, which seemed to startle the man. Whatever, the man said, rolling his eyes. The group pushed past the three and began to walk the opposite direction. Oh no, Seiya said, looking forward. Where did he go? Ace yelled, noticing Otto was no longer in front of them. Where did he? Yuna groaned. They only looked away for a few seconds. How is he suddenly gone? What do we do now? Seiya asked. Ace took her hand and continued to run. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. He shouldn't have gone far. Check each corner, Ace said, turning his head on each corner, hoping to see Otto. I'll check up above. No, that should be fine. I'll check up above, Yuna said. Thank you, Seiya said as Yuna jumped and climbed to the roof. Tom, Yuna called. Tom left her body and spun around her until they faced her. Help me look, she said. Tom nodded and the two split up to look down below from the rooftops. While searching, Tom flinched. Is that? Tom questioned as they noticed a dark mist close by. Yuna, they called. She quickly returned to Tom. I sense a phantom, they said. Yuna's eyes widened for a second, not expecting that. She looked at the siblings, then back at Tom. She clenched her teeth while grabbing her head, thinking. She seemed conflicted for a few seconds until she eventually made a decision. Let's deal with the phantom. Lead the way, Yuna said. Tom followed the feeling, almost like a dog's searching with their nose. Once they spotted the mist again, they quickly moved towards it, and Tom found the phantom in the alleyway. Found beside the trash bin was Otto, and above him was the phantom, which was slowly creeping up to him. Yuna pulled out her weapon, using the opportunity to slash at it while it was distracted. The phantom's body was cut in half, and for a moment its body morphed and spiked up until it eventually popped and turned into shattered pieces that fell to the ground amongst its cloak. Once she landed, Otto jumped. He pushed his body against the wall. You almost got possessed again, she complained. She marched towards him with an angered expression and pulled his arm, forcing him off the ground. If I didn't feel sorry for you, I would have punched you, she yelled. I'm sorry, Otto whispered, breathing heavily as he continued to cry. She grabbed his waist and pinned him against the wall. Listen to me. If those two hated you, they wouldn't be here. If those two truly despised you for what happened, they wouldn't be running after you. Don't you see? They still care about you, Yuna yelled, practically shaking him. Stop claiming you're cursed and stop pushing all the blame on yourself, she yelled. Yuna, Tom called, worried. They could feel her emotions instantly. Eventually, Yuna's grip loosened as his wrists. Eventually, Yuna's grip loosened on his wrist, and she lowered her head and started to breathe slowly to calm down. I know how it feels. Pinning all the blame on yourself, believing you're at fault for all the bad things that happened to those you love, she whispered. Otto remained silent, listening to her as Tom kept distance from the two. Not wanting to get close to anyone else out of fear of losing or hurting them, too. But you want to know what? But you want to know? If you truly love and care for those around you, wait, what? But if you know what? If you truly care and love those around you, you're not a monster or someone who brings bad luck. You're just a soft person who lets their worries consume them. I was once like that. I avoided others for the longest time, and I could have stayed like that if it weren't for the people who refused to give up on me, she continued as she slowly stepped back while releasing her grip on him. She gently smiled, remembering those who helped her family, her master, all the other phantom hunters who were patient with her when she first started training. She still has a long way to go, but compared to the version of herself in the past, she's better now. She knows this is a difficult road to go on, but it's not impossible. And now there's people who refuse to give up on you. Both Seiya and Ace are out there still looking for you. They miss their friend and want to clear the air now that they have the opportunity to. So please, hear them out, she continued. Otto looked towards the street. He hesitated. Ace, Seiya's voice screamed. Otto's eyes widened as he immediately ran to the direction of her voice. Yuna and Tom followed. I hate this city, Ace groaned with an irritated glare. In front of him is a drunk man holding a shattered liquor bottle like a weapon. Ace was drenched in liquor and had a few shards on his clothes. Now I repeat, how much is she for the night? The drunk man said, slurring his words. I'm no pimp and my sister is not for sale, Ace yelled. With a body like that, she has to be worth something, the man said while making distasteful groping motions with his free hand. Seiya hugged herself while cringing and taking a step back. Excuse me, sir, Otto interrupted while placing a hand on the man's shoulder. The man groaned while turning his head, but before he could respond, his face was greeted with an aggressive punch. The man fell to the ground and seemed to be knocked out cold. Mikleo, Seiya called, surprised. Otto lowered his head while rubbing the back of his head. Wait, what? Oh, lowered? Yeah. Well, rubbing the back of his neck. Makes more sense, probably. I'm sorry, he whispered. The two looked at him stunned. They didn't expect him to return like this. Seiya took in a deep breath as tears started to form in her eyes. Suddenly she ran to him, hugging him tightly, which startled him. Don't apologize, she yelled. Otto froze in place as his eyes widened. If I knew this is how you would have ended up, I would have never let my parents take us away. Seiya, Otto muttered as tears started to fall. Why do you two have to start crying? Ace said, turning his head away to avoid crying himself. Otto let out a single laugh before reaching his arm towards Ace. Ace looked at his hand surprised. I'm ready to talk, Otto said. Ace smiled as he took his hand. Finally, Ace said. A brief time skip, a little tiny one. How do you think it's going? Tom asked. The group went to a nearby park, and the three friends sat on a bench while Tom and Yuna stayed behind. Yuna was leaning against a tree while Tom, who was smaller in size, was sitting on her head. Both were staring at the group. I'm sure everything will be fine, she said. Sat in between the siblings and the one who was mainly speaking was Otto. He obviously still has a hard time making eye contact, but at least he isn't silent. He's sharing everything on his mind, and the two silently listen without interrupting once. Do you think this will help him? Tom asked. I'm sure it will, she said, smiling. She closed her eyes while lowering her head. Not wanting her stare to distract the friends, Tom slowly flew off her head and moved to look at her face. Yuna, Tom called. She hummed in acknowledgement. What you said to Otto, they continued. I wasn't lying. I know too well how a bad state of mind can affect a person, she said. Oh, does this have anything to do with your hatred towards phantoms? Tom asked. Of course, she answered, opening her eyes to look at them. Her eyes were cold. I don't hate phantoms just for the sake of hating them. I obviously have a reason, she said. Tom nodded while slowly floating down to the ground. They faced away from her while playing with the grass to distract themselves from the silence. Yuna rolled her eyes with a half smile as she gently what? Oh, I'm reading so badly. Yuna rolled her eyes with a half smile as she knelt down and patted Tom's head. You're growing on me, though, she said. Tom was surprised by this, but slowly started to smile. Wow. And that's all for this one. That was the only mission that I got done for Yuna's story. And the next one, it involves more people and a whole resort. But here's the thing. I only got, like, the beginning of it. Like, I haven't got the full thing. So I'm like, that's like a work in progress thing. And I gave up on this story like a long time ago. But now that I reread it, I kind of want to return to it. So maybe one day I will. Maybe I won't. I hope that I do, because I kind of do like the characters. They're like one of my favorites now. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my reading of, what was the name of the book again? Living with Phantoms. That's the name I gave it for some reason, because like for the longest time I just titled it Story because I couldn't think of a proper name. But then I guess a while back I decided to call it Living with Phantoms, because I mean it makes sense. So yeah. Oh, gosh, that was a lot. I hope you enjoyed. I better not catch you dying on me. And now this is, the outro. Goodbye, peace out, and have a lovely day.